Dylan Wang caught hiding Shen Yue for months, until this happened broken heart. Dylan Wang had always played the game well. He was the darling of directors, the headline maker, the one fans couldn't get enough of. With each role, each press conference, each carefully timed smile, he mastered the art of being seen without ever being known. His talent wasn't just in acting. It was in protecting the parts of himself no one had a right to touch. Except her. Shen Yue was the exception. They had been close before, once. Too close. The chemistry they brought on screen in Meteor Garden was no accident. It was real. It was raw. It burned quietly beneath the surface of rehearsals and table reads, under the gaze of 1,000 lights and hundreds of eyes that watched for a slip, a glance held too long, a hand that didn't pull away fast enough. But they never slipped. Not then. After the drama ended, rumors flew. Fans made edits. Reporters asked questions that both of them dodged with expert grace. And just like that, the fairy tale ended, or at least, that's what the world thought. What they didn't know was that it had only just begun. Shen Yue wasn't someone you could forget. Not even if you tried. Dylan learned that the hard way. She had this softness about her, like everything she said had a second meaning, a quiet honesty that made him feel like she could see past everything he pretended to be. And she did. She always did. That was why, even after the cameras stopped rolling, he couldn't let her go. Their secret started innocently enough. Shared dinners that turned into long walks. Accidental late-night texts. Studio rehearsals that somehow lasted just a little too long. No contracts. No labels. Just connection. For 6 months, they lived between shadows and silence. They created their own world, one untouched by scripts and spotlights. They talked about everything: art, dreams, fear, legacy. And sometimes they didn't talk at all. Sometimes they just sat in each other's presence, breathing the same quiet air. And yet, not even love is strong enough to shield 2 stars from a storm when it comes. The problem began with a deal. A major studio drama. A role Dylan couldn't turn down. It was everything he'd worked for: an international co-production, heavy press coverage, A-list exposure. But it came with a condition, one buried deep in contract language and whispered warnings. He had to stay single. Publicly. No distractions. No rumors. No Shen Yue. And there was something worse. His agency had a plan. A staged dating scandal with a rising actress under the same label. A PR stunt designed to boost both careers and fuel speculation just long enough to keep tabloids fed and investors happy. When they told Dylan, he didn't speak. He just stared at the words on the page and felt his heart begin to fracture. "You don't have to do anything," his manager said. "Just act natural. We'll handle the rest." But what about her? What about Shen Yue? They told him she would understand. That she'd been through this before. That she knew what the industry demanded. And maybe that was true. But none of that mattered when he sat across from her days later, trying to find the words to explain something that had no fairness in it. She didn't cry when he told her. That's what gutted him the most. She just listened, calm and composed, as if she had prepared for this moment since the day they met. Her eyes didn't leave his, not once. "So," she said quietly, "I'll disappear. That's what they want, right?" "No," he whispered. "That's not what I want. But you'll let it happen." His silence was her answer. That night, she kissed him once, softly, like a goodbye that refused to be loud. And then she left. No door slamming. No final words. Only silence. 3 months passed. Shen Yue vanished from the media. She turned down scripts. Deleted her last Weibo post. Rumors said she was taking a break for her mental health. Others whispered that she had gone abroad to study. No one knew the truth. Except Dylan. He watched the rumors spin while standing next to another woman in photo ops, smiling for cameras that flashed too bright, too fast. And every time he looked at that woman, his so-called girlfriend, all he could see was the girl who had once sat beside him in a dim cafe, sketching story ideas on napkins. He had everything he'd ever wanted. But the one thing that made any of it real was gone. And then the photo leaked. It was blurry. Grainy. Almost useless. But not to fans. It showed Dylan leaving a private studio late at night, alone at first glance, but a shadow followed behind. A second figure, slightly smaller, head down, face hidden under a hoodie. It could have been anyone. But not to the people who had studied Dylan's every movement for years. Not to the fans who had never stopped believing in the connection between him and Shen Yue. They knew her walk, her shape, the way she stood with one foot turned slightly outward. And just like that, the silence cracked. Dylan's team scrambled. They issued a vague statement about invasive speculation and unfounded rumors, but the internet didn't care. The fandom was already on fire. Old photos resurfaced. Clips of interviews where they shared inside jokes. Slow-motion edits of stolen glances. It all came back like a tidal wave. His management called an emergency meeting. "You need to shut this down," they said. "Right now." But Dylan said nothing. He just sat there, fingers laced together, a war raging behind his eyes. That night, he found her again. She was still in the city, quietly tucked away in a rented apartment under an alias, avoiding everyone, even herself. She opened the door before he knocked. Neither of them spoke. The space between them held everything unspoken. Every ache, every regret, every could have been. Finally, she broke the silence. "You shouldn't be here." "I know," he said, "but I couldn't stay away." She looked at him, truly looked, and for the first time in months, he saw the cost of what they had both lost. Her eyes were tired, her voice small. "They'll ruin you," she whispered. "If they find out it's true." He shook his head. "Let them. I'd rather lose everything than keep pretending I already haven't." Tears welled in her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. He stepped closer, close enough to hear her breath hitch. "I'm sorry," he said, "for choosing the spotlight over you. For letting them decide who I'm allowed to love." She closed her eyes. "It's not just your career, Dylan. It's mine too." "I know," he whispered, "but maybe we've let them win for too long." They stood there, not kissing, not touching, just holding the gravity of their choices between them. And then, as if on cue, her phone buzzed. It was her agent. The photo had gone viral. Everyone was talking. Scripts were being pulled. Sponsorships were stalling. The storm was no longer coming. It was already here. Dylan took a deep breath. "Let's stop hiding," he said. She looked at him like he was speaking a language they had both forgotten. "Are you sure?" she asked. He nodded. "I'm done living half a life." That night, he posted a single photo on his private Instagram account, a photo of two hands, fingers entwined, one of them unmistakably hers. No caption. No tags. The next morning, the world exploded. But for once, Dylan didn't care. Because for the first time in years, he wasn't acting. He was finally just real. The fallout was immediate. Headlines screamed betrayal. Industry insiders called it a PR disaster. His brand deals hesitated. Her agency threatened legal action for breaching her image terms. Fan bases split. Some rejoiced, saying love should never be hidden. Others accused them of manipulating public trust. But through it all, Dylan and Shen Yue stayed silent. Not because they had something to hide, but because for the first time they had nothing to prove. They went off-grid. No interviews. No damage control. Just the two of them, retreating into a quiet world they never thought they'd get back. They rented a small cabin near Lijiang, where no one knew their names. Days passed with laughter, sketchbooks, music playing through cracked phone speakers. They cooked together, fought over board games, watched old films with subtitles off, and made up their own dialogue. It was blissfully simple. And yet, reality doesn't stay away forever. After 2 weeks, her manager showed up unannounced. He begged her to return. A major drama she had auditioned for before going dark had reconsidered her. "You can't throw your future away," he pleaded. "For a scandal." Shen Yue looked at Dylan across the room, and for a moment, her heart faltered. Because her dreams mattered too. And he saw that. He always did. So he nodded. "Go," he said softly. "Chase what you love. I'll be here when you get back." Her goodbye that time wasn't silent. It was a promise. Back in the city, the noise